Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 364, written by Just Little Reid, so it appears this ghost really hates phones. Hi, this is my first post ever, but I just want someone to listen and help me come up with theories of what the hell I have experienced. Me and my friend were in her kitchen. She was making food and I was sitting at the table with a bowl of cereal when I noticed that her phone was really close to the edge of the table. I grabbed it and yelled, "I will put your phone right here in the middle of the table." I put her phone in the middle of the wide and high table, which means that when we were sitting down, none of us could easily reach it. My friend sat down and we smiled at each other and started to eat. Just when I was about to say something, her phone flew across the room and into her bedroom and hit the wall with such force that it sounded like a big boom. She is shocked and scared by this, so my protective instincts kick in, and I was like, "It was just the wind, calm down. Look, I'll grab your phone and put it back in the same place, and it will be all fine." She was terrified, and I just wanted her to calm down. It all happened so fast. So at this point, we were standing. She was in the corner, and I was at the table. I wanted to put the phone down at the exact same place, but it didn't even have time to touch the table when it flew out of my hand. It flew into the wall, the phone got cracked, and it almost hit my friend since she was standing there. If we weren't two who witnessed this, I would have thought I was hallucinating, but she recalled the event in the exact same way. We don't talk about it often because it makes her really scared. What happened? Case notes. This is just odd. Whoever this ghost was, the echo of this person, clear as day that they were a Luddite. They really hate technology. Case file number 365, written by Anonymous. When you meet your best friend from the past as yourself from the past. This was about 5 years or so ago. I was at the pool trying to get a few laps in, but gave up as I kept bumping into people who were playing in the lapping lanes. It was a really hot day and very crowded, so I just shrugged it off and let them. Usually I'd make a fuss and kick people out of the lapping lanes, unless they were lapping, of course. So I just started walking down to the shallow end. Ahead, holding onto the pool's edge, I could see two teenage girls standing in the shallow end, chatting to each other. The one facing me was a spit image of my best friend when I was about that age, teen years. I couldn't believe how much she looked like her as I walked by. When I was past the girls, I turned and got the shock of my life. The girl talking to the one who looked like my friend was me. She and I spent a lot of time at the pool when we were young. I even thought I recognized the bathers they were wearing. I got out of the pool and sat there, shaking for a minute. It had really gone through me like a shock of electricity. Then I got up and walked back to where I'd seen the girls, and they were gone. I spent another hour or so looking around in the pool, in the canteen and changing rooms, and on the grass, but I never saw them again. I'm still mind blown when I think about it. What do people think could possibly have happened? I know tan teenage girls can all look alike, but this was beyond a similarity. It still haunts me. Case file number 366, written by Overall Resolve 4490. When your girlfriend comes home, but she never came home. I've been diving into high strangeness since I was little, but last year I read John Keel's 8th Tower and my whole perspective changed. For the past 3 months or so, I've been pretty absorbed by all things strange. In the past, I was more focused on UFOs and alternate history, consciousness, and I've never been one to look into hauntings. But after reading Keel, I've started watching videos of stories and browsing relevant subreddits. It's become an interest of mine, but I will say that I have no desire to experience any ghost or poltergeist activity. So last night I was working outside on the patio while my girlfriend was at work. I had one of her dogs, Pyrenees, outside with me, and her other dog was inside with my two. It was about 7 p.m. when I heard her pull up and lock the car. The dogs inside started doing what they normally do when she comes home, and one of my dogs came to the patio door, wagging her tail and telling me to come inside to say hi. Since I was working and couldn't leave right then, I was going to wait for her on the patio. I heard the front door open and shut, normal front door closing sound, where the whole house shakes a little. My dog ran back towards the front door to greet my girlfriend, but then ran back to the patio door in the kitchen and was excitedly whining. Soon after, my dog inside and the Pyrenees outside Started looking towards the laundry room attached to the kitchen. The lights were off in the kitchen and laundry room, so I turned them on with my phone. Nothing in the kitchen or laundry room. No cats, dogs, or girlfriend. Still, the Pyrenees stood and stared at the same spot for at least 30 seconds. While all of this is happening, I'm kind of annoyed. She didn't tell me she'd be home early, even though I was just texting with her, and I was in the middle of work and hadn't tidied up before she got back. So my heart rate and blood pressure was elevated because of surprise and stress. Once I realized she didn't come home, I was scared someone else had gone in the house. I heard the freaking door shut. My house shook. The dogs heard it all, too. But after I checked my security logs, it was clear none of the doors had been opened, and no one else was at my house. I had tried to tell my girlfriend about it, but it scared her and she forced me to explain it away. I said, maybe it was a subwoofer in someone's car that shook the house. But I'm 100% positive that's not what it was. It's also worth noting that my driveway isn't near any others, and no one lives in the house closest to mine. I have zero reasonable explanation for this. Honestly, I almost forgot about it, but figured I'd go ahead and write it down. Anyone else have a similar story? Or does anyone else experience something after spending a lot of time looking into strangeness? Edit. Another commenter mentioned a Wikipedia page that linked to this entry. In Finnish folklore, all places and things, and also human beings, have a haltia, a genius, guardian spirit of their own. An image or doppelganger, or just an impression that goes ahead of a person, doing things the person in question later does. For example, people waiting at home might hear the door close or even see a shadow or a silhouette, only to realize that no one has arrived yet. Case file number 367, written by Tooweighmirror. A chilling account with multiple witnesses of a UFO in Ohio. On the evening of September 7th, 2006, my friend Jen and I were driving home from a friend's house nearby, where the Big Ear Radio Observatory used to be. It was somewhere around 10 p.m. near the corner of Cheshire Road and Route 23 between Delaware, Ohio and Lewis Center, Ohio. We were driving down Route 23, heading south towards Lewis Center, when Jen saw a bright light very distant in the sky. We both joked, saying, it's probably a UFO. So we keep driving and we eventually lose sight and forget about the distant object in the sky. Then, as we were coming over the precipice of the hill, just beyond where the golf course is now, where the telescope once stood, there was an enormous, glowing, football-shaped UFO hanging right above our heads, steadily moving over top of Route 23, heading towards Lewis Center. It was the most frightening and awe-inspiring thing I have ever witnessed. We stopped on the side of the highway and got out of the car. It was the largest thing I have ever seen. I felt like an ant beneath a giant glowing boot. The object looked like it was engulfed in an orangish, reddish plasma, almost like what the surface of the sun looks like from close up or space. It looked as though it had flames bubbling and churning within it. I tried to take a video with my Motorola Razr, but the phone just would not pick it up at all, even though it had just been working fine and had nearly a full charge. It slowly begins to back away from us a bit, and then begins floating towards the town of Lewis Center. We followed it back to Lewis Center, where my friends and I watched it for nearly an hour, and eventually it began to gain altitude. Then in a dizzying display of lights and flashes, it blasted away in the blink of an eye, leaving behind a wispy blue/teal vapor trail. I found out later that the Big Ear Radio Observatory in Delaware, Ohio, was where they had received the WOW signal in 1977. This object took up a large portion of the visible sky as we came upon it. I am an airman. I have been trained to observe and identify aircraft. I would estimate the object to be the size of an NFL football stadium, just floating above the tree line/highway and houses and buildings. The object was witnessed by at least 5 people other than myself. As it was gaining altitude, glowing bluish-purple orbs started cascading out of the main football, cigar-shaped object one after the other. Each time one appeared, the momentum of which they resolved around the main object intensified until all I could see was a spinning blue glow around the main football object. Then in the blink of an eye it shot off into a flash of light in front of it, like the Enterprise going to warp speed, leaving only a bluish trailing haze behind it. The whole experience was the most profound thing to have ever happened to me in my lifetime up until that point. Edit. There is one thing that I left out. An E-3 Sentry aircraft immediately flew into the area after the encounter, at a very low altitude. It was so low that I could easily make out exactly what type of plane it was in the black of night. I also saw it in the sky around Lewis Center for the next few days after the encounter. It was so close I could read the US Air Force on the side of the aircraft.